Nigeria, there are over 30 million hectares of farmland under cultivation season to season, falling substantially short of the estimated 78.5 million hectares of land that are required for farming to feed Nigeria's growing population. The country's agricultural sector is dominated by smallholder farmers who work an average of 4 to 5 acres each under rain-fed conditions. Several factors inhibit accessibility to farmland and invariably farming, such as cost of land acquisition, delay in getting appropriate land titles for agricultural investment due to bureaucracy in government, and lack of low-cost credit finance from financial institutions. With the soilless farming technology of Samson, these challenges are eliminated. The advantage of this technology cannot be overemphasized, as it allows people in the urban areas to farm. Crop production requires quite an expensive size of land for cultivation, but with this technology, anyone can be a farmer in a suburban city center. The ripple effect of the use of this technology will be improved food production and the end to hunger in accordance with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals.
I'm Farmer Samson Ogbole, a modern farmer from Nigeria. I'm a tech-based farmer. By that we mean we use technology as a way to push agriculture to the next level. I started far back 2013. I was fortunate to work under Dr. Nobeth Maria back then in IITA. He was a project leader for yam improvement for income and food security in West Africa. So there I joined the team that developed aeroponics technology for the production of seed yams. While I was there, 2014, 2015, on my own, I started trying out the soilless technology on other crops. I wanted to see how would other crops interact with this system. Two, how can this system be cheaper such that anybody can deploy it, such that you don't have to have millions and millions to go into soilless farming technology. In 2016, I left IITA and I started off on my own, and I started pushing out my work online. While online, I met a few people online who were interested in what I was doing, that okay, this makes sense, this seems like something that could bring money at the end of the day. So I reached out to, or rather they reached out to me and said, oh come, let's turn this thing into a company. At the initial stage, it was rocky because, I mean, when you tell people I need to go fully into farming, the first question is, okay, that's awesome. What crop do you want to grow? And you go, I want to go soilless. It's like, are you normal? Why would you want to grow crops soilless? Would it work? And all of that. But over time, people got to accept, believe, and today it's a foregone conclusion. It's now acceptable. It's no longer, is it good or is it bad? It's now a question of, is it profitable? Which I think in itself is progress. One of the major technologies we have used so far is soilless planting technology. And the reason for this is simple. The reality is people would ask, don't we have enough land in Nigeria? And the answer is yes, we have enough land, but we do not have enough fertile land in Nigeria. As at 1989, Professor Ogbole from University of Ilorin did a research, and back then he found out that only about 40% of Nigerian soil was fertile enough for growing. So there is a need to find an alternative way to grow our crops. Secondly, we also realize the fact that today there is the reality of climate change. And because of that, farmers are not able to predict correctly when it would rain, how much sun they would get, which invariably means they do not know the right time to plant, which means they don't even know when they are going to harvest. And you realize the fact that one of the reasons why food is so expensive in the country is because we depend on seasons to grow our crops. But if there is a way we can grow our crops without depending on the weather, it simply means that the cheapest that tomatoes is in the market can become the regular price of tomatoes all year round. With our tissue culture system, we are able to ensure that the farmers get access to clean seeds, clean planting materials to increase their profitability. So these are some of the technologies we are bringing into agriculture just as a way to ensure that we are enabling agriculture to be much more predictable, because once we can increase the predictability, it becomes something that the insurance companies are willing to insure because they are able to better calculate their risk. And this is also going to increase the bankability. Now, banks will be much more prone to say, okay, we can fund this project because we understand this is what happens at point A, point B, point C, and all of that. Then in all of these, we also bring in the Internet of Things, IoT, where whomever it is that is investing on the farm, from the touch of their phone, they can actually get live update of what is happening on the farm. Investors don't necessarily have to be at the point of where these things are taking place to monitor how their money is working. But in agriculture, if you are not here, it's as if you are cut out from the process. So we are using internet as an enabler to connect the farmer and the investor and the process to which the plants or animals are going through per time.
Brother Jumble, why you dey fumble? This is Kakaro, she don't change her bottle. You no need to dey suffer to send money, oh. Careful, make you dial the number 894. Make you know they wait. 894. No need to dey stand for line. 894. It is safe and secure. 894 for me. 894 for you. 894. There's a number that could change your whole world. 894. It no matter if you don't get data. 894. Just pick your phone and dial the number. 894 for me. 894 for you. 894 for Niger.
Dial star 894 hash to get started. Powered by FirstBank.
So soilless farming today is taking up. I remember about 3 years ago when we started, we were called all sorts of names like wizards, sorcerers, and all. But today, when you go to places like Lagos, Abuja, we have so many urban farms now picking up gradually, because now they are understanding, one, it is cheaper for you to produce in the city for the city. Late last year, early this year, the federal government through NISAO and National Association of Yam Farmers, they picked up the use of aeroponics courtesy of IITA in the production of seed yams. So hopefully from next year, so farmers are going to be having access to clean seed yam courtesy of aeroponics, which is a soilless growing technology. Then also in the north, so many people now are picking up the fodder system as a way to grow grasses for their cows, because with the fodder system, we are able to grow the grass in 7 days. And this would help ensure that we are able to resolve the farmers' herdsmen conflict permanently. 2, there is better use of land, the lands are optimized. 3, you are able to actually properly monitor the animals, the health of the animals, the health of the herdsmen, taking care of the animals. Much more than that, the government is able to actually tax this industry properly, because right now, because the animals are not in a single place, it is not easy for the government to tell the owners of cows to pay tax. So that is one area of the economy that is bringing money to the owners of these farms, but is not bringing money to the government. See, like I was saying, you can grow anywhere. These are regular pet bottles that normally people throw away. Inside here, what I have here that I used in growing vegetable is rice hull, the shaft from rice. And here I had vegetables that have now been harvested. You can see some herbs that have not been picked out. Here I had pepper, so all of here had vegetables growing. So even if what you have is just a vertical space, you can still grow something out of it. If you look at to my left, here I have a simple grow tray. Again, here I am using that coconut shaft for my growing. This is not soil. You can see my hands are not stained. I can simply dust and wash off and my hand is clean. In this small space, I harvest 150 tomato fruits. And you can see how little the space is that I am using. You can see new tomato fruits again coming out. New ones are flowering and you can keep harvesting. If I decide to go for indeterminate, I can harvest for about 6 months to a year continuously before the plant reduces their yield and I then decide to discard. So anybody can grow. You don't really need so much space. If you are a family of 3, a family of 4, you can have multiple of these trays properly set around your house and you have multiple tomatoes throughout the year. You don't have to buy tomatoes again. That is money saved. So one of the biggest issues we face in tech-based farming is knowledge, because you realize, unfortunately, our schools today, even for those that study agriculture, they are being trained in the past, not in what's current or even the future. So that in itself is a big issue. The second big issue we have is power, because for anything that is technology-driven, you know there is a need for constant electricity at some point. If we are going to be doing without things like hoes and cutlasses, it means we are opening up a whole new skill acquisition center, because the robots of the future, now we are going to be having things like robots manning our farms. We are going to be having sensors on the farms. So beyond food production, these are skills that the youth of tomorrow can pick up and start deploying from farms to farm. So beyond food production, this in itself is a different area in agriculture, because we must always remember that when we talk about things like telecommunication, for everybody that is connected on telecom or any of the telecom platform, it is money in somebody's hand who built that platform or that device that we are using. So the same thing is going to happen in agriculture, that for every food that is going to be produced in the future, there is a technology that is enabling it. And for that technology to be available, somebody has to build it. And the reality is, if as Nigerians we do not quickly wake up and build them themselves, we will be in a place where we would have to start importing these technologies in the future, which I believe would not be too good for us.
The process of the aeroponics is such that when we receive the plantlet from IITA, we put them in the nursery for about a week or 2, depending on the condition they came in. And then from there, we sort them, the ones that are matured enough, the ones that are strong enough to go into the aeroponics system. So we clean their roots with sodium hypochlorite and a little bit of ethanol. Now the reason is so that every germ that is coming, or every disease or bacteria coming with them from the nursery, can be cleaned out before we introduce them to the system. Now the reason why we have to do this again is because once one plant is infected and then it gets in contact with the nutrient water being a recirculatory system tends to feed the disease or the virus to every other plant, and then the infection spreads like that. And eventually you lose the entire lot from the system.
In soilless growing system, we have different technologies available depending on the kind of crop you want to grow. So first we have what we call hydroponics, which means you are growing the plant inside water. Then we also have what we call substrate-based hydroponics, where we use anything in place of soil. Then we have what we call aeroponics. In this case, the root of the plant dangles in the air, and we create a thing like a mist-like substance or a mist-like solution to feed the root. So aeroponics is meant basically for tuber crops. It can also be used for vegetables. However, it is not that profitable for vegetables. It is much more profitable for tuber crops because of the higher multiplication rate. For the substrates that we use things like cocoa coir. So cocoa coir we get from coconut. So normally when you get your big coconuts, before you get to the coconut itself, there are things like fiber, like hair. So we harvest those hair. Those hair-like structures, once we harvest them, we soak them in water. Now, the reason why we soak them in water is normally if you taste the hair-like structure, they taste a bit salty. So we want them to assume the pH of the water. So we change the water regularly until the pH stops changing. What is our trace? In case we do not see things like coconut fiber, we can use things like rice hull, that's the shaft from rice. We can use things like sawdust. But before we use any of these materials, we will first burn them, a process called carbonation. So when we carbonate, the reason why we carbonate is it increases its water retention capacity and also increases its aeration capacity. So once this is done, we can also use them to grow. Now, essentially what determines what we use for growing without soil is it must be pH neutral, it must not have any nutrients, it must be devoid of any diseases.
Basically, we work with yams, though we have some other varieties of plants that we are working with. But what we do here is we propagate yams through the aeroponics. Aeroponics means growing of crops on hair without any medium. So we collect plants, the clean varieties, free of disease. We put them on the system. In 2 to 3 months, they are old enough to make vine cutting. So we cut vine cuttings from them. We transfer the vine cutting into nursery. They will stay about 3 to 4 weeks in the nursery. Then you move them to feed.
Okay, so behind me is a small farm or a garden, and the essence of this is I need people to understand that irrespective of where you are, anybody can grow. In this small space, as small as it is, I have about 66 times 4. So in this small space, I have about 300 different plants growing. If I had decided to use this to just grow only tomatoes, and if we assume that tomatoes gives an average of 30 fruit, that would be 300 times 30. That is about 9,000 fruits in this small space, because I am doing vertical farming, growing on multiple layers. We have the big farm elsewhere, but this is just to showcase that irrespective of where you are, anybody can grow. Space is not an issue. Even if your compound is cemented, you can still hold a garden, you can still grow something. The key to food security is not just the farmer producing everything, but rather it is that everybody can grow something in whatever space they have.
Aeroponic system, I won't lie to you, is cost effective, and you might not want to go into it without receiving basic trainings, understanding what is involved, who your target markets are, and all that. But it's not something that one cannot train for and understand the nitty-gritty of it and go into it. But I really cannot even tell you the amount it costs, but it's not small.
This establishment, the Smart Farm establishment, has been on for about 2 years plus now, and then it hasn't been void of challenges. We've had series. The first we had was the pulling off or the pulling away of our screen house. When we came in initially, having done everything we needed to do, we did not realize that being on the hillside, we thought was to an advantage that we're going to have a lower temperature, but no. What we rather experienced was high temperature and high wind and turbulence, and then it was successfully pulled off the screen house. Then that was the first challenge we had, and we had to review.
Recently, I got awarded as a #1 soilless farmer in Nigeria by Farm Connect and Oyo State government. 2018, I was named among the top 7 innovators by CNN Africa. I think they spotted me through Twitter, I'm not sure. I didn't get to find out how I got noticed. 2018, I was named among the one of the most legitimate youth-owned agribusiness in Nigeria by EFCC. Again, I think I was spotted on Twitter. I was one of those farmers who had the opportunity of engaging with all the gubernatorial candidates of Lagos State. So yes, I've had various conferences that I've attended, either to give a lecture. I've had the opportunity of speaking in different TEDx programs, about 2 TEDx. Till date, I've been opportune that my work has been featured in about 64 different countries. We've been featured on every major tabloid in Nigeria and some major news channels in the world has also featured us. I think I would say it's God's grace at the end of the day, because I don't want to believe we are the best out there. It's just God's grace and the sacrifice of many who I work with.
I've had the best team in the world. Like, those guys are fantastic. Trust me, they are. You know, everybody just knows what to do. I don't have to say, you get this done, you get that done. Everybody's forward thinking. Everybody has the same passion as I do. And then we all connect our passions together to realize the vision of the organization.
Soilless farming is growing your plant without the use of soil. And the reason why we grow plants without the use of soil is because once you remove the soil component of growing, one, you don't have to deal with pathogens, you don't have to deal with weeding, you don't have to deal with seasonal production of food. Now you can grow any time of the year, which means you can harvest any time of the year. Now people would say, how can a plant grow without soil? It's simple. Once you understand the function of soil, you realize the major function of soil is 1, to support the plants, to give the plant support, 2, to retain water, 3, to help in aeration. So what we are simply doing is replacing the function of soil with other materials. And that way we can grow all year round without depending on season, because we understand food production should not be seasonal, because hunger is not seasonal. My name is Farmer Samson Ogbole. I'm a tech-based farmer into soilless planting, and I am a first-class material.